Hey guys, welcome back to Jessin Reads Romance. I'm Jessin and today I'm here with my May wrap up. Now first, before I get into like my favorites and my least favorites of the month, I do have a couple of books that I haven't talked about yet. I would definitely say that the second half of May was a lot slower for me. I kind of got into a reading slump and I just think it's probably just anxiety feelings with the looming, NCLEX test that's scheduled next month. I think that is really like having a toll on my anxiety and also my ability to escape in a book. It's a little bit harder right now. So anyway, first one is King of Pride. I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. The hero is just, I'm like, okay, I need more heroes who wear glasses. Why is it so hot when a man wears glasses? I don't know, but Kai, he absolutely stole my heart. This is definitely an opposites attract romance. We did see a little bit of tension between Kai and Isabel in the previous book, and the way that this plays out, how Isabel is a bartender and he's a member of the club, that this is an exclusive, club slash bar for them. He's very driven. He has a routine. He always orders like the same drink, and Isabel like knows his routine, but he can't help but be fascinated by Isabel. And I love all these small intimate moments that these characters experience when she goes and plays the piano and he often goes to listen to her. The whole interaction between them is honestly so adorable. They have a bit of a secret kind of relationship. It's supposed to be just no strings attached type of thing, just kind of like, oh, we're just, scratching an itch or whatever, but we know that it won't work. And then of course we have their individual conflicts which they're going through. Kai is the son of a very important woman. Both of his parents were very successful in business, and the company that's been under the guidance of his family, his mother's stepping down, so a new CEO will need to be voted in. He's in the running for it, but he does have some competition, and his mother's putting a lot of pressure on him because he's like, if I don't win, then I'd be like the young who lost the company. I don't want to be the first young in history to not be the CEO of this company. So he has a lot of pressure going on. His mother is kind of forcing him into like, hey, what about this girl that you used to be kind of like friends with? Maybe you should date her because people want to see stable, CEOs or whatever. And I love how Kai just points out, he's like, aren't a couple like members of the boards like caught in like these notorious affairs or whatever? So like marriage doesn't actually equal this stellar image, I would like to date somebody for more than just image or whatever. And his mom's just like very old fashioned, upper crust, whatever, that type of person. And of course, Isabella, who is tattooed, she has colored hair, she's a bartender. We know that the mom's not going to approve of Isabella, right? Isabella's conflict is she is a aspiring writer and she wants to finish this novel. This is like her goal, to finish this novel. She has a little bit of an imposter syndrome, and her family looks at her as a little bit flighty, especially her older brother. And we know that her older brother is like pressuring her to come back and move like somewhere in California, I think that they live, and work for that company. But she's just like, no, I want to do my own thing. I want to be in New York. I want to be a writer. And the brother's like doubting her. The way that Kai supports Isabella is just so beautiful. I think that one of my favorite things about this is that the conflict of this book played out perfectly for me. I'm very vocal about how I don't like stupid third act conflict things. And I think that it was absolutely perfect the way that this played out, and it was so swoony. Kai does something so swoony. I'm going to put up a little spoiler right here, but when they're kind of broken up and Isabella had sent Kai the manuscript, never heard anything about feedback about the book that she sent. She was like, oh, well, maybe he hates it and that's why he's not saying anything. And then they kind of like break up or whatever. She pushes him away, which I was okay with that. I was okay with her pushing him away. I understood her reasoning and everything like that. And it turns out that Kai actually really liked the manuscript and decided to shop the manuscript for an agent on Isabel's behalf. And she finds out because the agent actually contacts her. And I absolutely love this because it's all about actions, not words. He understands her. He knows that she's going to kind of procrastinate these types of things. She has a lot of self-doubt, so he's going to put it out there for her. He's going to take care of that for her. And I just love how supportive he is. He's like literally book boyfriend material all the way. Everything about Kai is book boyfriend material. So yeah, 5 stars for this book. I love this series so much. The next book I picked up was Runaway Love by Melanie Harlow. This is the first of a new series. It's like Cherry Tree Harbor or something. And this is a small town, single dad, nanny romance. It literally hits all the tropes that I really love. But funnily enough, I've been reading lots of single dad nanny romances. Like, I just feel like a lot of people are writing it right now. This is another, you know, popular trope to write at the moment, which I'm not mad at it. Interestingly enough, this book does start off a lot like another one that I read last month that I never really talked about. I read In a Jam by Kate Canterbury, and this one had a similar premise in the beginning where Veronica is about to get married and then she finds out that her fiance is a piece of shit and that she changed her whole life for him and he is horrible. So she is a runaway bride and all that. And she's in this small town because this is where his family always gets married, in their estate in rural wherever they are. They're very elitist and all that jazz. And she has, her fiance is such a dick because he cut her off from her friends. He moved her away from her only friend basically in New York. Her mother has passed away. She never knew her father. She's very isolated, and he even got her to quit working. So like all of the money that she has is his money, so he cuts off her credit card. She literally has no money. She cannot escape this town. And I love that she goes in this like little diner in her wedding dress, and they're all like very like comforting to her, and she's just looking for a place to stay, a job, and they're like, hey, Austin's actually looking for a nanny for his kids. She has not had experience nannying at all, watching kids. She doesn't have that experience. And she decides to go to this interview after talking to Austin's sister, who happens to walk into the diner. She's the one that's been watching the kids, but she has a new job that she has to go away for. And the first meeting does not go great. She arrives at Austin's house in a wedding dress. And I love how the sister's like, I thought that you would have changed before this, and I haven't really told him this. Austin is such a grumpy hero. You can tell that Austin feels like he's always very like burdened. He's the oldest of his family, and he kind of like took over and was helping his dad raise his younger siblings. He's also, instead of like doing what he wanted to do, I think he wanted to go to architect school, he dropped out and he decided to work with his dad in his business, doing contract labor and all that jazz. And you can just feel like the weight of the world on Austin's shoulders. He wants to be a good dad. He wants to be supportive of his father in his old age, but like he hasn't been able to pursue his passion at all at any time in his life. And all of his siblings see this and they're like, hey, why don't you just tell dad? And he's like, no, I can't leave dad in a lurch. So he's just like that single-minded type A personality person, which I can relate to. So I didn't mind Austin's grumpiness at all. And Veronica comes in with all her like whirlwindedness and just shakes things up. So eventually he feels bad for her and he hires her on as the nanny. And of course she's living in the above garage apartment. So close proximity. The kids are really cute, Adelaide and Owen. I just thought that this was a really light and fluffy romance and I really enjoyed it. So I gave this one 4 stars. Originally I gave it 4.25 stars, but I think it's more of a 4-star. It was like, I enjoyed it a lot, but also nothing like super like wow and super special about it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it as a 4-star. The next book is Beyond the Thistles by Samantha Young. Earlier this month I read a lot of Samantha Young's. The series is called The Adair Family. This is a spinoff series because the hero in this one was a bodyguard for the last book in that series. The Adair family has a lot of people who work in like Hollywood, and Thorne used to be a bodyguard and now he works in security at the estate, at the Adair estate. And he is kind of encircling around this young single mom. Her name's Sloane. She's from America and she's recently moved to Scotland. She works in housekeeping, and the Adair family have kind of taken her under their wing. Her and her daughter, they're just super cute. And Sloane has not been like quiet about, she has a crush on Thorne, and Thorne does not want to get involved with Sloane, but like he can't help it. He can't help but get involved in her situation. Now I will say that after reading the Adair family, the plot being so samey with the romantic suspense element to it, like the suspense element was very samey. I actually like the way that the plot of this book was structured, because I would say that there's 2 main conflicts in this book. One is Sloane's ex. I like the way that it was actually set up in this book, because I feel like in the Adair family it's more like a mystery of like, ooh, who could possibly be doing this thing, and red herrings and all that jazz. But this one, it's like, you know, her ex is the problem from the very beginning. That flashback, it's the reason why Sloane decided to leave America. So we had this establishing conflict with her ex, and then it's been some, you know, months since she's been in Scotland already, and things are starting to look like maybe her ex or somebody associated with her ex is has found out where she is. So she needs protection. Of course, Thorne's there to protect her and her daughter. And we have that conflict. And then we also have Thorne's conflict, which we don't know much about in the beginning, but it unfolds throughout the course of the story. And I like how each particular thing, Sloane's ex and Thorne's past, they have their moment to shine. And I feel like it makes the book flow very well. And yeah, I wasn't at all expecting like what was in Thorne's past and stuff, but I actually really liked it. It made me understand him a lot better and the reasons why he was pushing Sloane away, because we could see that they were perfect for each other. I actually really like books where the guy is just kind of like, no, I'm not doing any relationship things, but then he does the relationship things and he doesn't even know that you're basically in a relationship. You're just in denial. I kind of like that setup. So this book worked really well for me. I actually thought it was really good. I gave this one 4.25 stars. Then I picked up One and Only by Carla Sorensen. This is like another spinoff, but the problem is Carla Sorensen doesn't like to name her series even though they are a series, so it's hard to kind of accurately describe what series this is a spinoff of because she like names them in posts sometimes. I don't know. It's all in the Washington Wolves world. Now, interestingly enough, this is the first of the series, and I have two big critiques of this book. I still liked it, don't get me wrong, I gave it 4 stars, but I have one critique, and that is this is the first of a series, but I really do feel like you need to read both The Plan and The Crush before you read this one and get the full impact of like what's going on with the family. So our heroine, her name is Greer, and she's part of this huge blended family. Her mom had 3 kids from her first relationship / marriage. I can't remember if she was married to the first guy. Anyway, 3 kids from the first marriage, and her stepdad also has 3 or 4 kids from his first marriage, and then their parents got together and they had 1 more kid. So this whole family, this is what the series is going to be about, but 2 siblings already had books. The hero of The Plan is part of this family, and the heroine of The Crush is part of this family as well. So like it's like an extended universe, but this specifically is the start of like a new series. It has like a completely different look from The Lie, The Plan, and the Crush. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, but I don't feel like you get the impact. You wouldn't get the impact if you just picked up One and Only and didn't read The Plan and The Crush, because one of the big conflicts, literally the main driving force in why Greer enters into this fake marriage, fake relationship. Why does she enter into this? I guess it technically is fake. It's more like marriage of convenience, but they're not technically married because they never filed the marriage license. So, but it is a marriage of convenience. The reason why she's doing this is because her stepdad is terminally ill. So content warning for that if that is upsetting to you or you just don't like that in your books or whatever. I feel like this family is well established if you've read The Plan and The Crush. You get to know these people already, and you get the revelation that the dad has a recurring incidence of cancer in his life. And in The Crush, I believe, that's when we find out that the cancer is back and it's so far progressed and he's so tired and he's just like, I choose to not do any chemo or radiation. It's just, I'd rather my last days be free of all that. I just want to enjoy my family. Like, you get that impact from a previous book. So I don't love how these series are so intertwined that we have siblings in one series in another series. And also that the other series, The Lie, The Plan, and The Crush, does not have a series title. I hate that it doesn't, because I can't refer to it as like the Ward sisters like her other series are. Anyway, we have our hero, Beckett Coleman. So he is a single dad. He plays on a team with Greer's brother. So that's how they end up by meeting. Oh, and Greer's family works in like construction, interior design, like all those things. Beckett needs this room. He recently bought a house to be redone for his daughter. He shares custody with his daughter with his ex, and the ex is actually going to get married soon, and she's also for a year going to be moving away to London with her new husband because he has a job that he temporarily needs to go there for a year. And they agreed that their daughter is going to stay with Beckett. So this is the first time that he's going to have like primary custody of her, have her like the majority of the time, and she's just going to come back and come visit. Of course, she's very sad and she doesn't really want to leave her daughter. She is debating on whether or not to take her daughter, but the whole problem is the daughter has this social anxiety and and disrupting the routine, disrupting anything in her routine is very upsetting to her. Anyway, Greer's problem. She overhears her stepdad. He laments to the mom one night, they're alone, and Greer just overhears this, that he will never get to walk, you know, his girls down the aisle. He hasn't gotten that chance to walk them down the aisle. And Greer, her big idea is that she needs to get fake married so that her dad can walk her down the aisle. It's a little bit of a, you're pushing it for the reason, oh, I need to get fake married just so that my dad could walk me down the aisle. Like, definitely pushing the reason. It's definitely a author's forcing the hand of this situation, but I'm not mad at it because I like the relationship and I definitely like Beckett's kid. Cute kids are also a thing that I really love in romance novels. Beckett decides to go along with this fake marriage of convenience because having a stable relationship, it's gonna make his ex actually happy that he has help, because his schedule with being a professional football player is a little bit like up in the air, you know, so it makes the ex feel better that, oh my God, you're in a stable relationship and my daughter really likes her. Like, this is great. Okay, so they're kind of like living this lie, this big lie. My other critique for this book is that I feel like it ends kind of abruptly. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it's not that this book was too short, but it did feel short. And I felt like toward the end of the book was whenever we actually started getting into the actual nitty-gritty of like feelings, and then it ends. So I just feel like it was a slow burn, but the author didn't let the actual part of the book where it's like, oh, they have true feelings for each other, breathe enough for me to be like, this is a satisfying ending to the book. I still enjoyed it. It was cute, but it definitely wasn't my favorite by Carla Sorensen, so it's only a 4-star. Next is Dreams of Broken Kings. This is the third book in the Fade Guardian series, a fantasy romance, and I really like this world. Interestingly enough, I love the first book. The second book was very lackluster for me, and this third book I was a little bit wary, but it ended up being really great. It had such a much better setup for this book than the previous one. So Ada, all of the heroines in this book are humans who have been pretty much frozen in time for 2,000 years, and they're waking up in this new world, like it's post-apocalyptic, and they're pretty clueless about how like the Fae system works. Now Jasper has amnesia, and you definitely have to read these books in order. They connect a lot, and Jasper has scented that Ada is his mate. They actually have like the tattoos that show that they're true mates or whatever. But he doesn't remember even like why he took her. He has been tortured. He has some trauma in his past to do with his biological father and stuff like that. And I really like the relationship between Ada and Jasper. Just makes a lot of sense. Ada's patience with him, because she literally wakes up to a strange new world and like, who are you, this man? Like, who are you? Who doesn't even know what his name is. Like, she asks him and he's like, I don't know. And I like the way that their relationship plays out because of Ada's past. She was almost a survivalist out of necessity because she had a neglectful mom, and she is used to dealing with wildlife. She had this kind of mentor who was also kind of like this like grumpy old curmudgeon, like lived alone in the woods and taught her how to survive and all that jazz. And she's worked with animals in the past. And it's very interesting how her past with dealing with animals like that is actually very helpful in dealing with Jasper, who is a werewolf or wolf fade shifter. I thought that their relationship was super cute. I mean, the world is just very complicated and complex, especially 3 books into the series. So it's hard to really get into like the history of like what's going on. But I actually really liked about this book is that they feel kind of pretty isolated from the rest of the Fae Guardians. And I think that that lends itself to developing their relationship a lot more naturally without like outside influences. So I really enjoyed this one. It's definitely not as good as the first one, but miles better than the second one, so I gave it 4.25. Stolen Touches by Neva Altaj. This is like the 5th book in her Mafia series, and they're pretty samey. I have my favorites in this series, and they're definitely like if you just want a book that you know that you're going to mostly enjoy, but maybe it's not going to be life-changing. That's what this series is for me. I keep reading even though I've hit a couple 3 stars. This one ended up by being 3.5. But our heroine, Malene, she's a nurse, and if you've read previous books in the series, that you know that she is tied to the mafia because of family, but she has lied to her brother about where she is. She's done this residency program as a new nurse, and as luck would have it, the head of the mafia in the current city that she is in actually finds her and proves to be kind of a little bit like a stalker. Salvatore is pretty impressed whenever he meets her. He decides to spy. It's very intrusive. Like, he puts cameras in her apartment, spy on her, and he's very fascinated with her. He definitely has like some social like issues going on. And by chance, he happens to discover that she is actually the sister of like a Don or whatever. So he kind of like blackmails her into a marriage of convenience type of thing. And the relationship was just okay. Like, nothing horrible about it, nothing amazing about it. So yeah, this was a 3.5 star. Next, this book, I have a specific reason why I picked this one up. So I picked up Right Man, Right Time, and Megan Quinn. I have not meshed with Megan Quinn's writing style, and I think that I should have just known myself. Like, I already know I don't love Megan Quinn's books, but I really wanted to try this book out because, of course, hockey romance is such a big thing right now on Book Talk, which I don't post anything on my TikTok or anything. I'm just there as an observer. I have fallen into hockey talk, basically, or at least Book Talk's version of hockey, and I saw that someone said a specific player for the Seattle Krakens was like the inspiration for the hero of this book, and that's why I picked it up. That's why I picked it up, because I was like, he's hot. I would like to read a book that the hero was inspired. That's who he is, okay? And I just realized that within the first chapter, it just wasn't gonna work out. Just wasn't gonna work out. The setup was so cliche. This man walks in, he's about to propose to his longtime girlfriend. And you can tell that the friend who he's confiding in, like, oh, I'm picking out a ring for this girl that I've been dating for a while. And the friend is like, are you sure? Like, we can tell apparently this girl doesn't seem like she is the right one, but he's just like, oh no, it's the right time, I'm gonna propose to her. He goes home, classic setup for you're about to walk into your significant other cheating on you. But like, the way that this cheating plays out, I was just so mind blown, because it just makes me think so much less about the hero, because I'm just like, this is a person to choose to date. Like, she's so shallow, and it like makes me think less of him. This first chapter were just too cliche for me. I just couldn't stand it. He walks in to the room. Not only is she cheating on him, but she's cheating on him with this couple. So this couple is pleasuring her, and he literally walks in and he's like, what is going on? What is this? Nobody stops. Nobody is like, oh my God, we're caught. No, that's not what happens. This couple is just kind of like, yeah, keep going, keep rolling. And the girlfriend unashamedly reaches orgasm. Like, apparently this is exciting for her to get caught. And he's just like, again, he waits for them to finish. And he just like talks to his girlfriend, what are you doing? What is going on? And she's just like, you know, you just haven't been meeting my needs. You're gone all the time or whatever. And he's like, you knew this. I travel for hockey. What are you talking about? And she's just like, yeah, but apparently she's been cheating for like months and months and months. This isn't even the first couple that she's been with. And it's just so dumb. Like, it was just so, like, there wasn't any nuance to this, and I just didn't like it. And yeah, again, since I can't connect with the hero, who we're supposed to be on his side because he's the jilted lover or whatever, I was just like, but you're the dumb person who was going to propose to this woman who's been cheating on you. And like, apparently she was a red flag. Like, everyone knew that, but why are you going to propose to this woman? Like, she doesn't appreciate you. Y'all been on the rocks. The sex has been terrible. Like, I hate that. It makes him look dumb. So I DNF this book real quick. Then I jumped back into fan fiction. I picked up Measure of a Man by Anna Days, and this is a post-war DILF Draco. Oh my God. This, I will say, it's my favorite fanfic that I've read so far. Definitely, it's the #1 spot. It is such a long book. If you think Manacled was a long book, this is longer than Manacled. So, I mean, do with that what you will. It's 100% worth it, though. It's a slow burn. When I say it's a slow burn, it is a slow burn. What I like about this book is that the author really takes his time developing the characters. Hermione is a healer. She specializes in specific diseases, which ends up, Narcissa has a kind of like neuro disease that's like similar to Lewy body dementia. So Hermione becomes her primary healer, and that means that she's involved a lot in the Malfoy's life. She hasn't seen Draco in a long time. Draco is an Auror, and he's also a single dad. He has his son Scorpius, who's 5 years old. And the beauty of this book is that Hermione actually falls in love with Scorpius first. Scorpius is like such a well-written character. I love him. Protect him at all costs. Like, this book is everything. The way that they fall in love, it's perfection. I just love it. 5, 6 stars. Like, it's 6 stars. I put 5 right there. No, it's 6. Hold on. I'm changing it in my Airtable because it just is. It's just 6 stars. I love it. Then after that, after we had our live show discussing Fourth Wing, we got on the subject of like Throne of Glass, and I realized, well, I didn't realize, I've been knowing this and I kind of been planning to do this anyway, but we discussed how I never finished Kingdom of Ash, so that was the next book that I picked up, was this Honka thing. Previously, I had read, this is actually how much I had read. I read this before I went back to school for the spring semester, and I stopped because there was a good stopping point right here. So what I did was I reread, or kind of skimmed this part. I reread this part, and then I finished Kingdom of Ash. Overall, I gave this book 4 stars because I felt like the scenario was very repetitive. It was a lot of like, here's a battle going on, our good guys could possibly lose, but then we have this character coming in and it's a reunion because they haven't seen each other in a while, and also they kind of like save the day. So it's a bunch of this, like this battle's going on, but like this little party is gonna move to this battle now and reunion with this person, and yay, we're together again, now let's save the day. So like it, on the one hand, of course, I want to see these characters like interact with each other again. Some of the characters haven't seen each other in a while. But also, I think that I struggle. I was talking about this with Crystal. I don't love the way that Sarah J. Maas writes big battles. There are scenes that 100% stick out and stand out and probably are my favorite scenes of the books that just so happen to happen within the battle. But it's not necessarily the battle scenes that that are engaging to me. I just don't feel like she writes good battle scenes, and that's just my opinion. I felt the same way about A Court of Wings and Ruin. Like once the battle in A Court of Wings and Ruin started, I was almost like checked out. Like it wasn't engaging the way that she was writing it for me, even though certain things like you need to read to have a resolution. That's how I felt about this too, and this book is kind of one big battle. Like the whole thing is. So it wasn't my favorite, but like there's some really great moments. Obviously, spoiler, I'm gonna throw it up right here. One of my favorite moments is actually when a lead goes to rescue Lorcan during a battle. He has fallen in battle, he's injured, and they all are going to imminently die. Of course, you know, Aelin saves the day as it does every single battle. Again, feels very repetitive. But Elide, her panic when she finds out that Lorcan has not come back. You know, they've been fighting, they've been having their little tiff ever since the last book, and it's just that moment when she goes out there, she risks everything, and it's just really beautiful. I love the scene. I love like the imagery that it invokes and stuff like that. That was a wonderful scene. The other scene that is really stand out in this book is when like the final battle, Manon and Abraxas Abraxas gets injured during a battle, like almost mortally so. I was fearing for his life. I was like, do not kill him. And she has to go back to the keep to safety, and a witch's tower is being rolled out, and witches towers can be absolutely devastating, catastrophic to the opposing force. And she's looking for another dragon she could possibly ride, but her best friend is like, no. She and the rest of the 13 go, and I have chills right now. They fly into the tower and they basically sacrifice themselves. And like, I was so struck by this because like this is Manon's family. This is Manon's family, and she loses all of this in the battle. And I think that that's also another thing. Like I just felt like we kind of left Manon hanging at the end. Like I didn't feel like we get enough closure like mentally and emotionally with Manon after going through this ordeal. We're really focused on like Aelin, which Aelin's never been my favorite character in this book. Hilariously, it's all about her anyway. I'm more invested in the other couples, the other side characters. Like I'm glad that she found her HA with Rowan. Rowan's a wonderful character. I love him. Aelin's not my favorite character. So I didn't care about Aelin being crowned queen. I more cared about Manon and what she was gonna do, and I'm like, go with her. I need more time with her, like exploring her emotions, like losing her family, and I wanted more of her and Dorian as well. So that's why this book just wasn't my favorite of the series, but it still had amazing moments in it, and it was good. It just wasn't my favorite compared to the rest of them, you know? So yeah. Then I reread Child of the Prophecy by Juliette Maurier. It is definitely a book that I have read many, many times. It's the 3rd book in her Seven Waters series, and it also is the conclusion of an overarching plot line that's been going on since the first book, because this was like the original just trilogy. I think only this trilogy was really planned, but Seven Waters was such a big hit, so Juliet decided to continue to write about this family, which I love. So Crystal and I were reading this one together, and I mean, there's just something so magical and special about this. It's not a romance, but it definitely has romantic elements in it, but this is like a historical fantasy. It has lots of like Celtic mythology and stuff like that. The heroine Fane is the granddaughter of a sorceress, and there's lots of family drama that goes into Fane's past and the way that she was raised, and the struggle between good and evil, like her internal struggle with wanting to be a good person and also struggling with a little bit of self-esteem issues that kind of influence her to do bad things, and of course she regrets them after. Like, just the way that Juliet Marie explores Fane's character is chef's kiss perfect, phenomenal. And then we have the whole family drama, like her reconnecting with her mom's family, like all of that. And these are all characters that we have been knowing for generations. So we're invested. We want Fane to choose, you know, the path of good. And we don't want her to be against her own family because of her evil sorceress grandmother's influence. So anyway, I just really love this. I think that Juliet Marie also makes or writes these characters who are so young, because Fane is only 16. And she sometimes feels like a teenager. Like, she does things that, you know, dumb teenagers do. But she also has such heavy conflicts, like these adult real world problems. And I think that Juliet Marie balances that so well. Like, this is a 16-year-old girl, but she also feels like an old soul in some ways as well. Like, she balances those two really well. And I think that it's true of most of Juliet Marie's characters. Female heroines are very mature, but just so relatable. Anyway, love this. 4 stars. 4.5 stars, not 4. Then I read another fanfic, The Eagle's Nest by Heart of Aspen. Not Absyn. This is an 8th year fanfic with Draco and Hermione returning to Hogwarts to finish their education and stuff. And they're resorted into different houses. Like, everyone's resorted into different houses. Draco and Hermione both end up in Ravenclaw. And this was just okay. It was very, like, teenage drama stuff, and I felt like the author kept saying like, hey, this is a slow burn, but it really wasn't. Like, she didn't pace it as a slow burn. The intimacy that Hermione and Draco experience and then walk back, like Hermione and Draco like will kiss and like have these like little scenes where they kind of sort of hook up a little bit, and then the next day Hermione's just kind of like, but he's bad, and like I can't be seen with him, and I don't even like him, and he doesn't like me, and all that jazz. It's like she kept progressing them physically, but then walking them back almost emotionally. So I didn't think that this book was handled well at all. If it was actually a slow burn romance, I think it would have been pretty fascinating, but that's not the way that the author chose to handle it. So I just didn't think that it was very well written, but the concept was interesting. So I kept hoping that it would kind of be better. So I'll only give this one 3 stars. And then finally, for my last read of the month, I reread Overnight Sensation by Serena Bowen. Again, I was just looking for a hockey romance. Okay, I was biding my time for Her Greatest Mistake to come out at the end of this month, today actually, which it'll be a June read. I'm not going to finish that book today. So I just kind of biding my time. I wanted to read a hockey romance, so I decided to go back to a tried and true. Serena Bowen has written plenty of hockey romances that I loved, and Overnight Sensation, it was a fun reread. Like this situation of forced proximity, kind of like a little bit of forbidden romance, because Heidi is the daughter of a commissioner, and once Jason Castro, the hero, finds out, he's like, oh, now Heidi's off limits. But then she's trying to prove to her dad that she's independent. She doesn't want to go back to college for, like, basically it's like a finishing school, and like most of the women, it's like an all-girls college or something. They get married like after they go to college. What is that saying where you major in MRS, Mrs.? Yeah, that's what her dad wants her to do. So Heidi kind of like moves out of her like dad's penthouse, and she starts crashing on Jason and Silas's couch. So it's forced proximity, and I think that Heidi Jo is just so resourceful, and I love her personality. Like, nothing gets her down. She is just going to suck it up. Her dad's kind of putting her through the ringer because he can, and she just kind of like, she never complains about it. She just does it. She's like, you think that you're punishing me, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna quit. I'm not gonna give up. She's so resourceful, and I love that. So anyway, very fun reread. I gave it 4.5 stars. So that's it for May. Definitely I would say my favorite read of May would probably be, oh, it's so hard because honestly they're all fan fictions that ended up by being like my highest rated books of the month. But if we're talking straight up just romance books, not fan fiction, it's gonna have to be a tie between Forever Your Rogue and King of Pride. Those two I think were just such phenomenal reads. The relationship was so good. The conflict was understandable and played out perfectly. I just feel like the author in both of these books really knew their characters and played up to their strengths. We had some flaws that were very relatable, and I just like both these books are such standouts to me for this month. So it's a tie between them. But if we're gonna put fanfic into the mix, all the previous fanfics besides Eagle's Nest are incredible. Measure of a Man was definitely my favorite. It's hard to decide because they're such different books on whether or not I would rank The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy as my second. They're gonna be tied. Disappearances of Draco Malfoy and Draco Malfoy and The Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love, they're both on the same level and they tell very different stories. Disappearances is one of the best alternate like endings to the actual series that I've this is one of the only ones that I've read, but it's almost better than the actual source material. I'm just gonna say it, it's better because it's so imaginative and so awesome. And then Mortifying Ordeal is just a ton of fun, and I love seeing grown-up Draco and Hermione falling in love, and I like Draco's personality in this one. Very fun. And of course my least favorite for the month was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I did go into this book thinking that it was going to be like one of the next big romanticides that I was going to be invested in. I was fully prepared to be a stan for this series, but it just didn't work out that way. I had multiple issues. I talked about it on the live show. I'll link that video down below if you want to go check out our discussion about that. We had lots of differing opinions. All of us rated it like different things. I did rate it the lowest, and I also posted a very long-winded Goodreads review because I didn't want it to come across that I was just kind of like, oh, this is a popular fantasy book and I didn't like it and now I'm gonna bash it, especially since I gave it such a low rating. I felt like I need to explain myself because I never want people to think that I'm just rating a book low because I'm being like contrary, because I'm not. I had real issues with this book that I felt like were poorly executed, but I also acknowledge that it is an extremely popular book right now. Like people are putting this on their list of like favorite books of the year, and I acknowledge that it worked well for a lot of people, but there's specific reasons why it didn't work for me, and I think that those are valid as well. I don't think one cancels out the other. You can think that this is the greatest book of all time, and I can also think that it was one of the worst books that I've read this year, and both can be true, but just for different reasons. So yeah, that is May summed up. I have very high hopes that this kind of like slumpy feeling that I've been feeling for the past like week and a half is gonna resolve itself, but I'm also tentative about it just because I do have my NCLEX scheduled for June, so that could set me back. That could set me back. So I do have plans for June. I will be putting out a TBR video, and I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'm behind on a lot of things. I'm behind on a lot of challenges and stuff. Obviously, I didn't do a book for my 12 Friends challenge this month. I didn't read Elisa Kleypas last month or this month, so I'm gonna be playing catch up in the second half of the year, but that's fine. That's fine. I tend to read a lot more usually when I'm not in school. I tend to read a lot more in the winter months anyway because I don't know, cozy vibes are just very conducive to reading for me. So yeah, anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Again, look forward to a June TBR video, and hopefully I can get back into the swing of things on YouTube pretty soon-ish, maybe in July. The podcast is set to come back in July. I feel like that's whenever I'm gonna get my shit together. It's in July. Having more videos on YouTube that's not just like weekly wrap-ups. That would be great. That's like my goal. That's my goal. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified on any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with a little HEA. Bye guys.